Hey guys, we're going to go ahead again work on molar mass. Again, we're working on mass to moles. Our practice number 3, problem number 5. So problem number 5 reads, how many moles are in 98.3 grams of aluminum hydroxide? So this side, instead of having an element, we have a compound. So we're going to figure out how much uh, the compound, or 1 mole of that compound, would weigh, and then how many moles are in 98.3 grams. So we're going to go ahead and look at the first thing they do is always is what is the number of significant figures that our answer need to be in. So I have 3 numbers here, and again, all numbers are significant, so we're just going to go ahead and put a 3 in there. So our answer needs to be in 3 significant figures once we get down. One of the next things that we have to do is we have to figure out what is the molar mass of aluminum hydroxide. We also have to figure out uh, what is the formula for aluminum hydroxide. So we're going to go ahead and work on that. And so the first thing is we have aluminum hydroxide. There are no Roman numerals. Okay, aluminum is a metal, so is it type 1 or type 2? Since there's no Roman numerals, we know that it's type 1. So we can find a charge for aluminum. So let's go ahead and go to our periodic table. Aluminum is right here. It is in column 3A, and if you already know what that is, we should know that that's a +3. Okay, because it is an A group, it's not a type 2, so it's in here, type or column 3A. But we can always double check back at page 14. So let's go to page 14 and look at page 14. There's aluminum, and it is a 3+. So let's go back to this, and we know that we're going to put in right here, and I'm just going to sneak it up this way, that it is a 3+. Now we could put a plus in front or back, it didn't really matter. So what about hydroxide? So let's look at hydroxide. Hydroxide, it ends in I, so we almost think that it's an element, but it's not an element, it's a polyatomic ion. So we're going to go back to our packet, we're going to look at our polyatomic ions, so we're going to pull that all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to find hydroxide. Now, sometimes it's awful hard to know whether it's an element or a polyatomic ion if it ends in "ide." But if you can't find it on the periodic table, then go to your polyatomic ion sheet and you should be able to find it there. So hydroxide is right here. It is OH. It's a -1. So we know that it is and I'm just going to put it in front of it, that it's a -1. Okay, so if I have 3 for aluminum and I have 1 for hydroxide, if I crisscross the numbers, that means I have to have 3 hydroxides for every 1 aluminum. So I'm going to write that out right over here, and I'm going to say that I have aluminum, but I need 3 hydroxides. Since it's a polyatomic ion, we had to make sure that that's in parentheses. So we looked at what he had, and we're going to put down OH in that, because OH was the symbol for hydroxide, and we needed how many of them? Oh, we're going to put a subgroup of 3. So let's go ahead and make sure that that is the formula for hydroxide. Again, it never hurts to double check. So once we find hydroxide, we see that it is OH, it is a -1. So we need 3 of those to balance my aluminum. Okay, so now once I have the formula, I can figure out the molar mass of aluminum hydroxide. So again, these last problems are a little bit harder than the previous ones of just doing the molar mass of an element. Okay, so we're going to come over here, and we're going to say that we have aluminum, we have oxygen, and we have hydrogen. Okay, so how many of each ones do we have? Well, in this equation right here, for aluminum, we're going to tab over and just go, there's no subscript, so that means we have 1 of them. It's not in parentheses, so we don't see that we have more than that. Okay, and then oxygen, I have 1 as a subscript right here, but I have it 3 times, so that means we have 3 oxygen. And hydrogen is the same way. I have 1, but I have it 3 times, so we're going to put it in right there. Okay, so there's 1. Now we're going to say what is the weight of each one. So that's what we're going to calculate. What is the weight for each one? I got to go to the periodic table to figure that out. So remember, we're going to go back to the periodic table and figure out what are the weight for aluminum, oxygen, and hydrogen. Okay, so let's scroll back up to our periodic table. Okay, so we have our periodic table right here. So we have aluminum is 27, oxygen is 16, and hydrogen is 1. So 27, 16, and 1. So we'll go back to this, and so we're going to put down our 27 right here, our 16, and our 1. Now again, a lot of you guys will already know these because you practice them so much. This is the reason why we don't memorize anything, because we're going to go ahead and use all these things anyways. So 1 times 27 is 27. Go figure that. 3 times 16, well, if you don't know it off the top of your head, again, we can go back to our calculator, and we can just take 3 times 16 equals 48, and we can go ahead and put 48. Now, again, you're going to do oxygen enough times where you're going to figure out that it's 48 right away. Now, again, hydrogen, each hydrogen is 1. I have 3 of them, so I have a total of 3. Now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out our molar mass by adding those all together and what that equals. So we're going to add all those together. So we're back over to calculator, and we're going to take our 27 plus our 48 plus our 3, that equals 78. And again, I like to do it again, 27 plus 48 plus 3, and that equals 78. So we know that that's going to equal 78 grams of this right here. And again, I like to go ahead and make sure that I put that in there. Okay, and we can even bring that down to whatever we had, which is 18. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go use this in our equations like we did with the other one. So now what we know the molar mass of aluminum hydroxide is, we're going to go ahead and calculate how many moles are in 98.3 grams. So we're going to start off, we'll go back to the original problem, and we see that we have 98.3 grams of aluminum hydroxide, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy this, and we're going to paste it right there. So again, we're going to make this all the same. Oops. So we're going to go down to, because I like to have everything the same. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our line and our times in a line. And what are we going to put on bottom? We'll put grams. So what grams? Well, how many does 1 mole? So I can put 1 mole of aluminum hydroxide right there. And again, okay. And we're going to highlight this, or underline that, excuse me. And then on the bottom, we're going to put, well, how many grams does that 1 mole equal? That 1 mole equals our molar mass, which is 78 grams. So we're going to go ahead and just copy that and paste that on the bottom. So now we have it on top and we bottom, and before we go ahead and calculate out what our answer is, we have to go ahead and get rid of anything that we can get rid of. So I have grams of aluminum hydroxide on top, I have grams of aluminum hydroxide on bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight that, or cover that over, and then I'm just going to strike through, and I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Now again, it's important, we need to make sure that we strike through these and get rid of them, because otherwise I have to put it in my answer. So the only thing that I really have left, and we know that this is going to equal, okay, this is going to equal moles of aluminum hydroxide. Okay, so we're going to put that in there, of aluminum hydroxide. And how many moles is that? So now we got to do our math to figure out what goes right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our calculator. We're going to put in our 98.3. We're going to multiply by 1 because that's on top. And then we're going to divide by 78. And that equals 1.260. So I'm going to put that in there, 1.260. And I'll move myself up here just a little bit. And we need to put it in 3 significant figures. So I put my line right there. It's a 0, so that means we get rid of that. And our final answer is going to be that right there. So we're going to highlight that, move that over. And one last thing is, I'm going to double check again. Always says 98.3. We're going to divide that by 78, and that is what it equals. So there's our answer right there. So 98.3 grams of aluminum hydroxide equals 1.26 moles of aluminum hydroxide. So we just converted it from mass to moles, and that's it. So again, we need to do all this whole process so we can get to that stoichiometry at the end. So as always, go Mohawks. Nelson out.